So like Gillian said, my name's Mya-Rose Craig. I'm an environmental and race activist from the Bristol area. And I've been campaigning about various issues, since I was 12 years old when this terrible oil spill happened in the Sundarbans, this amazing mangrove forest in Bangladesh. And no one in the Western media at the time seemed to really care or realise it was happening. So I remember my 12-year-old self took it upon myself to start campaigning and raising lots of money. And since then, I've been involved in various campaigns, but the most prolonged one and the one that's closest to my heart, I started when I was 13 in 2015. And I've always been very involved in environmental and natural spaces. I'm a very big bird watcher. I come from a family of bird watchers, so I've always spent all my free time going out into nature. But I'm also half Bangladeshi, and growing up, I really started to realise that I just never saw anyone who looked like me in environmental spaces and in natural spaces that I was talking about. So in 2015, I decided I wanted to do something. I started running nature camps to work with kids from ethnic minority backgrounds in the local area. And I remember at the time, there were lots of people telling me that there are just certain types of people who aren't interested or willing to engage with nature, the natural space, environmental issues, and that what I was doing was essentially pointless and a waste of time, which I immediately proved wrong. I ran a weekend camp with a bunch of kids from Bristol, and we all had an amazing time. It was a completely new experience for them. And I have done many, many camps since. I'm actually doing one this afternoon. And I've worked with hundreds of kids. But there were also lots of more systemic issues going on in the background. And so I ended up starting a charity called Black to Nature that was all about tackling this, pushing for change, and basically, quite frankly, having conversations that a lot of people were very, very uncomfortable with having, which I think is really what true campaigning is. And 6 years on, my charity, Black to Nature, is thriving. We've worked with hundreds of children and teenagers over the years, and we've worked with every organisation in the nature sector. But another issue that I've become increasingly passionate about the more I've gotten involved in climate change activism is global climate justice, the concept of prioritising equity in the climate movement, acknowledging how the global north has created climate change that the global south is currently experiencing. The global climate movement can't be sustainable without listening to and accepting what people in the global south have to say. There is, as I'm sure you've noticed, a very, very small group of environmental activists who are given a media platform to speak. And that number is practically down to zero when you're talking about activists from the global south, despite how important their voices are. I wrote my book, We Have a Dream, because I wanted to amplify the voices of young activists of colour and young Indigenous activists from around the world and hear what they had to say. I was interviewing these 30 people for about 6 months last year, and it was genuinely one of the most inspiring and hopeful experiences of my life. I think there's so many amazing young people that are out there doing so much for the world, and I think that that's the most exciting thing to think about at the moment. And We Have a Dream is currently available for pre-order on my website, birdgirl.com, for anyone who's interested. But in general, what I'm trying to say is that intersectionality has to be at the core of everything that we do. And if we don't accept that, we're going to fail to create a sustainable movement, a truly sustainable movement. And sustainability truly is the goal, not just dealing with the various environmental crises that we're trying to cope with at the moment, but building a new and better world. I agreed to speak today not just because I am with Triodos Banking, but also I think in a period where our governments and our banks are frantically trying to greenwash while behind the scenes pouring money into fossil fuels and other destructive things, I truly think that a focus on sustainability and a focus on morals is the single most important thing these days. Thank you so much.